Order, order. Shadow Leader of the House.
Can there be a local election coming? Madam Deputy Speaker, will the Leader of the House give us the forthcoming business?
Leader of the House.
Good to see we're so popular today. I shall. The business for the week commencing the 28th of April includes Monday the 28th of April, second reading of the Football Governance Bill, Lords. Tuesday the 29th of April, remaining stages of the Public Authorities Fraud, Error and Recovery Bill. Wednesday the 30th of April, Committee of the Whole House and remaining stages of the Sentencing Guidelines Pre-Sentence Reports Bill, followed by motion to approve the Draft Licensing Act 2003, Victory in Europe Day Licensing Hours Order 2025, followed by motion to approve a money resolution relating to the Crime and Policing Bill. Thursday the 1st of May, general debate on Parkinson's Awareness Month, followed by general debate on prisoners of conscience. The subject for these debates were determined by the Backbench Business Committee. The House will rise for the early May bank holiday at the conclusion of business on Thursday the 1st of May and return on Tuesday the 6th of May. The provisional business for the week commencing the 5th of May will include Tuesday the 6th of May, general debate on the 80th anniversary of Victory in Europe and Victory over Japan. Wednesday the 7th of May, remaining stages of the Data Use and Access Bill, Lords. Thursday the 8th of May, business to be determined by the Backbench Business Committee. Friday the 9th of May, the House will not be sitting.
Shadow Leader.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. I wish you, and I very much hope that everyone here had a perfectly spectacular Easter, and I'm sure I speak for the whole House in recording my sadness at the death of His Holiness the Pope, who was, in his work and in his life, the embodiment of faith, hope and charity. If I may, Madam Deputy Speaker, I'd like to start with something small but I think important. My honourable friend, the member for Hinckley and Bosworth, recently asked the Secretary of State for Education in a written parliamentary question whether she had visited any private schools since July of last year. The Junior Education Minister replied as follows: the Secretary of State for Education and the wider ministerial team visit a wide variety of education settings, including private schools. The Secretary of State for Education prioritises visits to our state schools, which serve 93% of pupils in England, all of which is no doubt true, but not an answer to the question that was put. All ministerial visits are logged by the department, so it was easy, and it remains easy, to compile the numbers. The leaders made clear on many occasions her commitment and belief that members of this House should receive proper answers to their questions. Could she take this up with the Secretary of State for Education and see that a proper answer is given? Madam Deputy Speaker, more widely, I talked a few weeks ago about how the Prime Minister was steadily being mugged by reality, and we've seen this again in the last few days with the government's U-turn on the ban on sourcing photovoltaic cells built with slave labour in China. But the same can, I think, be said for its energy policy as a whole, and it's important to put that in front of the House. The Labour 2024 manifesto promised to cut bills, to boost energy security and to create cheaper zero-carbon electricity by 2030, accelerating to net zero by 2050. It tried to allay public concerns by promising a phased and responsible transition in the North Sea that recognises, and I'm quoting, the ongoing role of oil and gas in our energy mix. Now, 9 months on, we can see how that's going. Government's already had to U-turn on its infeasible commitment to zero-carbon electricity by 2030, but most recently, the situation with British Steel in Scunthorpe has underlined the deeper incoherence of its overall approach. By banning new oil and gas licences and preventing new exploration, the government is committing the UK to greater dependency on imported oil and gas at higher cost, with higher emissions and under less democratic control. In so doing, it is not advancing environmental justice or economic resilience. It's accelerating a decline in energy sovereignty that will leave this country more polluting, less secure, and ultimately poorer. If we do not produce our own oil and gas, we will have to buy it. The difference is that it will come from overseas, and imported energy is not only more expensive, it has a far higher carbon footprint. If I may remind the House, liquefied natural gas, for example, involves cooling gas to 160 degrees below zero, shipping it thousands of miles from Qatar and regasifying it at port in this country. The net emissions are up to 4 times higher than from North Sea gas. Crucially, UK territorial emissions go down, but overall emissions, including imports, are higher than they would be. This is not an honest policy. Labour's manifesto talked about the importance of energy security, but refusing to allow new exploration does not reduce our vulnerability, it increases it. Energy, after all, is national security. It is industrial strategy. It is heating your house and fueling your car. The idea that a major economy should voluntarily give up control of its energy supply before alternatives are well advanced is not progressive, it is reckless. But the problem goes somewhat wider. The government talks about a green industrial revolution, but the more expensive imported energy we have, the harder to achieve that will be. Not just steel, but chemicals, ceramics, fertilizers all require large amounts of gas and will do for years to come. If energy is unreliable or unaffordable, these industries will continue to struggle, whatever the fond imaginings of the Secretary of State. Worse still, the government's policy will squander capital and skills that might have gone into safely managing the UK's remaining hydrocarbon assets. The extra revenues will help fund that would help fund the transition will now be lost to the many other countries that welcome such investment, while the government turns its back on a sector that still employs 200,000 people and contributes billions in tax revenue. Madam Deputy Speaker, let me conclude by asking whether the Leader of the House shares my view that we badly need some common sense here. We all want an effective and a just energy transition. But that starts with one principle: control what you can, use your own resources responsibly and transparently while building the clean energy system of the future. Instead, the government has chosen a path that will increase emissions, raise costs, weaken the economy and tie Britain's future to foreign powers and volatile markets. That is not leadership, that is an abdication.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. Can I also share with him, I'm sure the thoughts of the whole House will be with Catholics in this country and around the world as they grieve for Pope Francis. As he said, he really did embody the very best of us with his deep faith and commitment to the poorest, the weakest, those dealing with conflict and destitution. Can I also once again put on record my thanks to you, Madam Deputy Speaker, Mr Speaker, and all the House staff for the professional and speedy way which they recalled Parliament over the Easter recess for us. They really do have dedication and professionalism at their core. And can I also take this opportunity, I don't think it's been done yet in the House, Madam Deputy Speaker, to pay tribute to Rory McIlroy on finally getting one of the greatest sporting achievements he can, the golf Grand Slam, and the first European to do so. I think the resilience and the mental strength that he showed was unbelievable and really was a great role model of great sportsmanship. And wish all of those taking part in the London Marathon good luck this weekend. The Shadow Leader raises a number of points about this government's strategy when it comes to energy and climate change. But I'm afraid I think he's misunderstanding the economics of the situation here, because the way that we will get energy security and the way that we will get lower bills in the future and over the long term is by having our own energy security, our own clean energy supplies, because we really do have to get ourselves off fossil fuels, because to get that energy security we have to become a price maker, not a price taker, and homegrown energy is the only way we will get control over our prices and gets us off the fossil fuel roller coaster. And as a country, we have great assets in this way. We are an island nation. Our ability to generate offshore, onshore wind, tidal, nuclear and other things. And this government has wasted no time. We've lifted the ban on onshore wind. We've established Great British Energy. We've approved nearly 3 gigawatts of solar, delivered record-breaking renewables auction, kick-started carbon capture and got the nuclear planning reforms underway. And that's how this country will bring down energy bills and get the energy security that we need. We've got to get ourselves off the fossil fuel roller coaster, and he really needs to look at the economics of the situation. I noticed that unlike many people, it's very busy in here today, I'm sure, looking forward to the local elections. The shadow leader didn't want to use this opportunity to make his party's pitch in the forthcoming local elections, but maybe that's because they're not quite sure what their pitch is. But people haven't forgotten the chaos and decline that his party left this country under after 14 years of failure and sleaze. Whereas the Labour Party, Madam Deputy Speaker, we're putting money in people's pockets with our boost to living wage and wages rising higher the prices. We're fixing the NHS with waiting lists down 6 months in a row now, cut by 220,000 since July. New free breakfast clubs giving kids the start in life they want, and we're taking back control of our trains and our buses. And as I saw myself this weekend, Madam Deputy Speaker, we are taking swift action on tackling crime and antisocial behaviour by seizing and crushing off-road bikes, which I did myself. That's the difference that a Labour in power makes. But I'm still not quite sure what the Conservative Party's strategy is at these elections, and perhaps the Shadow Leader would want to enlighten us as that. Is it what's being proposed by the Shadow Justice Secretary in the form of an alliance with Reform? Because if that isn't their strategy, why hasn't he been sacked? The Leader of the Opposition used her flagship pre-election Today programme interview this week to tell us of her one big achievement: Tory party unity. I nearly spat out my tea, Madam Deputy Speaker, because the benches opposite can barely muster a cheer for her at PMQs. And the Shadow Justice Secretary, he's in open leadership campaign mode. Because, in fact, this week, Madam Deputy Speaker, I've seen a letter that the Shadow Justice Secretary has sent to all Conservative candidates standing in the local elections, with his clear leadership pitch and offering lunch with Robert. And by the way, this all was on House of Commons headed paper, Madam Deputy Speaker, which to me looks highly questionable. It's blatant manoeuvring, and a strong leader would have sacked him by now. But isn't the truth, at the elections next week, a vote for the Conservatives is a vote for Reform, a vote for Reform is a vote for the Conservatives?
I call Singh Dhesi.
Thank you very much, Madam Deputy Speaker. We've been dealing this week with the sad passing of Pope Francis, but also I was deeply saddened this week with the cowardly, deadly, shocking terrorist attack on innocent tourists in Jammu and Kashmir. The families of the victims are very much in my prayers, and I sincerely hope that the perpetrators will be swiftly brought to justice. Does my right honourable friend, the Leader of the House, wish to take this opportunity on behalf of our Parliament to convey our heartfelt condolences to the Indian people and to condemn this callous attack?
Well, absolutely, and can I thank him for raising this. The horror of this horrific terrorist attack in Kashmir was utterly devastating, and it was, as he says, a cowardly act. And my thoughts and the thoughts of the whole government are with those affected, especially those who've lost loved ones.
Liberal Democrat spokesperson Marie Goldman.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. Last week, my honourable friend, the MP for Bath, was denied entry to Hong Kong while making a private trip to see her son and meet her 3-month-old grandson for the very first time. She was given no reason by local authorities as to why she was refused, so it seems reasonable to assume that her only crime was being a British parliamentarian. My honourable friend tells me that having come all that way only to be bundled off on the next flight home with no explanation was a big shock, and she was close to tears. Her son was waiting for her and her husband just a short distance away in the arrivals lounge, but she never saw him. Madam Deputy Speaker, this is extremely worrying and has far-reaching and very concerning implications. To be clear, my honourable friend had not been made aware that she would not be welcome in Hong Kong, and this was a purely private visit. The Liberal Democrats are concerned that this could have a chilling effect on all parliamentarians who speak up for freedom and democracy. We cannot and must not accept our democracy being undermined by allowing the intimidation of UK parliamentarians? So will the Leader of the House ask the Foreign Secretary to make a statement on how the government intends to engage in a clear-eyed manner with authoritarian countries that appear to be creating hidden blacklists of British parliamentarians?
Well, can I thank her for raising this on the floor of the House this morning, because I know this is a matter of deep and great concern to all members across this House. I know the Honourable Lady for Bath well. I've known her for a number of years. I've previously enjoyed our exchanges as her predecessor, and I was shocked and deeply saddened to hear of this incident, and she must be so upset to not get the opportunity to meet her grandson and be denied entry to Hong Kong in this way. She's absolutely right to say that it is unacceptable for a Member of Parliament to be denied entry to another country simply for being a Member of Parliament, albeit on a private visit in this case. The government has relayed our deep concerns with this incident to the Hong Kong and Chinese authorities, and we will continue to press these issues with them over the coming months. And she's absolutely right to say that our democracy, our ability as members of Parliament to speak freely in this place and not have that jeopardised when we are travelling abroad is absolutely fundamental to what this House of Commons is all about.
Liz Twist.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. I recently visited a great regional organisation, North East Youth, in my Blaydon and Consett constituency, and I met members of their Peer Action Collective, an inspiring group of young people working to prevent violence within the education system. Lucy, Penny and Dan delivered a compelling presentation on the need for clearer communication and better listening to young people in schools. So can we have a debate in government time on how we can implement more effective ways of better understanding the causes behind youth violence and disruptive behaviour and support young people before violence escalates?
Well, absolutely. Can I join her in congratulating Lucy, Penny and Dan and all those involved in the Peer Action Collective, which really does sound like a very good initiative. She's right to say the government takes youth violence incredibly seriously. We've established the Young Futures programme, and we want to bring all of those together to take these issues forward. And I think it would make a very good topic for a debate.
Chair of the Backbench Committee, Bob Blackman.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. And I join with the Shadow Leader and Leader of the House in expressing condolences to all Catholics all over the world on the death of the Pope. His leadership of the Church will be sadly missed. In terms of the business, can I commend the clerks who support our committee on the work they've been doing to try and get colleagues to submit and agree to having a debate next Thursday. We managed to achieve it, thank goodness. But can I ask colleagues who have made applications or are on our waiting list to please respond speedily once they've been offered a date. In addition, the business on Thursday the 8th of May will include a debate on St George's Day, which of course should have been held today, but for the fact that government business takes precedence. In addition, on Thursday the 15th of May, there'll be a debate on solar farms in the Chamber. In Westminster Hall next week on Tuesday, there'll be a debate on compensation for criminal injuries. We're not proposing to have debates in Westminster Hall next Thursday because of local election day. On the 6th of May, there'll be a debate on parking regulation, and I remind the House that that will take place at 11:30 a.m. because we'll be on Monday hours. And there'll be further debates in Westminster Hall to take place as well. Now, Madam Deputy Speaker, it's rightly been mentioned about on Tuesday the systematic murder of Hindu pilgrims in Pahalgam in India. The sad reality is that the terrorist group that is thought to be responsible for this, the Lashkar-e-Taiba, these are a Pakistani organisation that deliberately targets innocent people in Jammu and Kashmir. Already the Indian government have revoked visas, closed the border and expelled officials from Pakistan as a result. Probably most importantly, they've suspended the Indus Water Treaty. Now, I think this is an important aspect, that we need the Foreign Secretary to come and make a statement to the House on what could end up being a very quickly escalating situation between India and Pakistan. Tonight, there will be a vigil outside the Indian High Commission. I will be representing the opposition. I understand there will be representatives of the government as well. We must give our reassurance and support for the government of India in making sure that they apprehend these terrorists and make sure that those responsible for supporting them are also brought to justice. My understanding is that the Pakistani government and the Pakistani military have condoned these attacks. So I'm sure the leader will join with me in condemning absolutely these terrorist atrocities and also making sure that people who visit Jammu and Kashmir are held safely and do not have to suffer such incidents yet again.
Can I thank the Chair of the Backbench Business Committee for letting us know of future debates. Yes, like him, I'm anticipating that next Thursday won't be as popular as today seems to be for obvious reasons. But can I also, as I've previously said, can I join him absolutely in condemning these terrorist attack in Kashmir? This country always stands shoulder to shoulder with other countries, in this case India, who suffer these horrific terrorist attacks, which are cowardly acts that we resolutely condemn, as he says, and those conversations are ongoing, as he will know, to provide the support that we can. And are there any British nationals affected? We will also provide that support to them as well. But can I thank him again for raising this important matter?
Members will have seen that there's a lot of interesting business questions today. We've got around 80 people. I am asking people to please take this time, if you've got a very long question, to rewrite it. It should be no longer than 2 or 3 sentences. I call David Williams.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. The good people of Kidsgrove were promised significant improvements to their town as part of the Kidsgrove Town deal. However, Simon Tagg, the Conservative leader of Newcastle Borough Council, alongside the former Conservative Member of Parliament, overpromised and underdelivered. They knew they did not have the funds available. They should now say sorry to the people of Kidsgrove. Will the Leader of the House make time for a debate on openness and transparency in public funding?
Well, can I thank him for once again raising this important matter with me, which he's raised before, and I know he's a strong voice and advocate for Kidsgrove and his constituents, and I'm really sorry to hear about the frustrations with the town deal. He's absolutely right that things were overpromised and underdelivered, and that's why I think the people of his constituency rejected the Conservative Party at the last election.
Mike Wood.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. Last month's fire at Cirencester is at least the third at a battery energy storage system so far already this year, and residents are understandably worried when they're constructed near to their homes. Yet Labour's planning reforms will make building these in villages like Lower Penn, Swindon and Womben in Kingswinford and South Staffordshire even easier. Can we have a debate in government time on the safety of battery energy storage systems, on planning regulations, and how we can make sure that local communities have proper oversight and a real say?
Well, I'm sorry to hear about the fire in his constituency. Look, it's Cirencester. Sorry, not in his constituency. Is that right? No, nearby. He's absolutely right. We have to get the balance right between ensuring that these kind of facilities are safe and are safely operated, while at the same time ensuring that we have the infrastructure that we need, not just today but in the future, for battery storage and for electricity and other clean energy supplies. We are taking steps to make sure that local communities are consulted on these matters, that they benefit from these facilities when they come to their local area, but we make no apology for saying that we have to sprint towards that clean energy superpower that we need to be.
Sharon Hodgson.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. Next week marks the beginning of Celiac Awareness Month, a time dedicated to raising awareness about celiac disease, a serious autoimmune disease for which the only treatment is a strict gluten-free diet for life. It is not a fad. While celiac disease affects 1 in 100 people in the UK, just 36% are medically diagnosed, leaving an estimated 500,000 people potentially facing debilitating symptoms, yet in the dark as to their cause. So will the Leader of the House grant a debate in government time to mark this important month and to help raise important awareness of this terrible disease?
Well, Celiac Awareness Month is a really important time, and I commend her for raising it here. And she raises a number of issues through the House. She's absolutely right. We need to do more to raise awareness of this very debilitating disease, and to raise awareness around treating it and making sure that access to gluten-free food and other things are affordable and available. And I think it would make a really good topic for debate.
Sir Roger Gale.
Deputy Speaker, the Leader of the House will probably know that elsewhere in this House last night, the campaign to return Ukraine's stolen children was launched with cross-party support for a very large number of people present. There are some 20,000 Ukrainian children who've been abducted and taken to the neo-Soviet Union. That is a war crime, as is the bombing of Kyiv and Kharkiv last night, and Putin is a war criminal. Could the Leader of the House consult with the Leader of the Lords and try to ensure that no platform is given to any person, however grand, that supports President Putin to enable them to address these Houses of Parliament?
Well, can I thank him for raising the issue of the stolen children of Ukraine and the event to launch that campaign in the House yesterday. But we've just had an urgent question on this matter in the House, and I think the Minister was very clear about our unwavering support for Ukraine, about our condemnation of the continued actions of Russia and Putin, especially overnight, but over a long period of time. We stand shoulder to shoulder with Ukraine. We're establishing the coalition of the willing to support what they want going forward, and that the only country stopping peace here is Russia and Vladimir Putin, and they could stop this war tomorrow if they chose to do, and I'm sure we will continue to discuss these issues going forward.
Liam Conlon.
Madam Deputy Speaker, I am proud to be the MP for Crystal Palace, and on Saturday many of my constituents will travel to Wembley to see Crystal Palace take on Aston Villa in the FA Cup semi-final. If a win will see them continue on their quest for their first major trophy since the 1991 Zenith Data Systems Cup. Will the Leader of the House join me in wishing Crystal Palace Football Club good luck for the weekend?
Well, I do often get invited to support other football clubs, but look, my husband is an Aston Villa fan, and obviously I'm a Manchester City fan, so we have quite a lot of other stakes in the FA Cup semi-finals this weekend, but I am happy to join him in wishing Crystal Palace the very best of luck on Saturday.
John Lamont.
Thank you very much. There are proposals by Scottish Borders Council to close a number of local nurseries, including those at Channelkirk, Yetholm, Glendinning, Weststrother, Ednam, Coburn's Path and Fountain Hall. There is strong local opposition to these plans. Local nurseries, I believe, are vital to rural communities like mine, and keeping them open ensures we can attract and retain young families in the Scottish Borders. Will the Leader of the House agree with me that nurseries throughout the United Kingdom should be protected, and will she allow time for a debate to discuss the importance of nursery provision in rural communities?
Well, absolutely. I'm really sorry to hear about this, and he's absolutely right. The Scottish Government should be prioritising nursery provision and ensuring that people in rural constituencies like his have got access to that provision, which is absolutely vital. He will know that the Scottish Government received a boon as the consequence of this budget, receiving over 20% more per person than those equivalent in the rest of the UK. So they really have got no excuses for the actions they're taking.
Matt Weston.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. I'm sure everyone around this House is concerned about the use of public money. Locally, in my constituency, I have a council that is employing leaf blowers to blow leaves around a redundant car park. A county council that has spent money, £11 million, on levelling a field for a school playing field, and a bridge to nowhere, which cost £16 million. So can I ask the Leader of the House that we should have a debate about how we better scrutinise the use of public money in local government?
Well, he raises a really important matter, and absolutely, local people want to know that their council tax is going towards the services that they want to see in their communities, and nothing frustrates our constituents more than seeing things in their area, in their communities, that they perceive as being, frankly, a waste of money. This government is committed to bringing more accountability and audit into local government, and we will be bringing forward legislation in that regard soon.
Neera Wilson.
Thank you very much, Madam Deputy Speaker. Just over 3 weeks ago, the Children's Minister had to be dragged, kicking and screaming, to the dispatch box to be forced into extending the Adoption and Special Guardianship Support Fund, which had expired the previous day, leaving thousands of vulnerable children and their adoptive parents and kinship carers in limbo. Not once during that 45-minute UQ did she say, when she triumphantly announced £50 million to continue the fund, that the individual support grants were about to be cut by 40%. That information was snuck out in a private letter last week during recess to local authorities and charities. So will the Leader of the House demand the Education Secretary comes and makes a statement to take questions from honourable members who feel they were, I'm sure, inadvertently misled by the Children's Minister on that day, so that we can understand the impact on some of the most vulnerable children in our society?
Well, look, I know that this is a matter of deep concern to many members across the House, and I commend her for continuing to raise it. I've got a number of constituents affected by this myself too, and that's why the government has ensured that we have got the £50 million arrangement for this year, but she will, I'm sure, recognise that due to increased demand on the adoption system, which is a good thing, we've had to make that money go a bit further for many families. But I do hear what she says today about accountability of the government in this regard. There was a written ministerial statement on Tuesday, but I will ensure that she and other members of this House are able to question and speak to the ministers as appropriate.
Paula Barker.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. Dozens of families across Merseyside, including my constituents Gemma and Paul Lucas, have been left financially and emotionally devastated by the actions of a home improvement company, Celsius Home Improvement Limited, and its director, Frank Deary. Customers had to pay 60% of costs up front to Mr Deary and have been left with homes that are uninhabitable and in some cases dangerous. The Liverpool Echo has reported that they have seen documents that Mr Deary's companies were providing, quote, post-2022 with Celsius branding, but were trading as Clearmetric Limited. A winding up order was made against Clearmetric Limited in the Manchester District Registry on January the 7th this year, more than 3 years after Celsius Home Improvements was dissolved in February 2022. What can the government do to prevent individuals like Mr Deary and his associate Liam McGrath liquidating one company owing more than £1 million to customers and potentially going on to scam others by setting up other companies, one of which I'm led to believe is called Merseyside Construction Limited? And most importantly, what can be done to get justice and full refund for my constituents Gemma and Paul?
Well, I'm really sorry to hear of this troubling case, and she's used her voice and her platform today as a Member of Parliament to raise some very serious issues, and I commend her for that. This notion of phoenixing, where directors dissolve a company to avoid debts only to set up a new one, is wrong, and we're committed to stamping it out, and Companies House do now have greater powers to do it. But she's absolutely right that people like her constituents need greater recourse when it comes to services and products going wrong or not being delivered, and they can't then get the accountability that they need.
I am wanting to get as many people in as possible, so please keep questions short. Greg Smith.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. With unitary council elections, county council elections, mayoral races taking up a lot of the headlines at the moment. There's an often regrettably forgotten subset in local government of the incredibly hard-working people who offer themselves to serve on parish and town councils. People like Nick Brown, who after 25 years stands down from Cheersley Parish Council, my own village. The amount of work people put in for no remuneration, just for love of place, is extraordinary. Yet a lot of the parish and town council elections in my constituency aren't only just uncontested, but will still carry vacancies after next Thursday. So can we have a debate in government time, not only to thank everyone that puts themselves forward for town and parish, but how we can encourage more people to come forward and serve their communities through those councils?
Well, I join him in paying tribute to all those who serve on our town and parish council, as he says, often for little actual reward in that sense, and our communities need them, and it's vital. We are bringing forward, as he will know, sort of changes to local government, because we want to make sure that people are able to represent their areas and are able to deliver the kind of change and services that people on the ground want to see, and that's why we've got the devolution bill coming forward.
Rachel Maskell.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. Tomorrow we would have been debating the terminally ill adults end-of-life bill. However, we haven't seen the impact assessment. I understand that it has been prepared but not published, and of course many of us have got serious concerns over the safety of the legislation, and therefore having significant advance notification of what's in the impact assessment is really important so that we can scrutinise that. Could she say when it's going to be published, and will she ensure that now that it's been prepared that we can see this immediately and it isn't withheld?
Well, can I first of all reassure her it's absolutely not being withheld. I have been asked about this a number of times, and I did make clear on previous occasions that given the number of amendments to the bill, that was going to take some time, but I'm actually glad that in order to allow that time to pass, the sponsoring member moved the date to the 16th of May for the next stages of this bill, and the government is absolutely committed to ensuring that the impact assessment is both published imminently but also in very good time for people to really consider the issues in it long before the 16th of May.
Claire Young.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. Businesses across my constituency, the wider West and South Wales, were given a rather glum Easter present, the news that HGVs will be banned from the M48 Severn Bridge from the end of May. It will lead to expensive and environmentally damaging diversions, and one local haulier called it a hammer blow. National Highways estimate the bridge will cost between £300 and £600 million to fix. So will the Leader of the House ensure the Department for Transport brings forward a clear plan of action as soon as possible?
Yeah, I will absolutely ensure she gets a full ministerial reply about why that's happened and when those repairs will be done to ensure that HGVs can get back onto the bridge as soon as possible for her constituents.
Matt Rodder.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. May I ask the Leader of the House to join me in supporting the Football Governance Bill, which is due to have its second reading on Monday. And will she also offer her support to Reading fans? I appreciate she doesn't support our club, but at this very difficult time, as we wait to hear the outcome of ongoing negotiations.
Well, absolutely. I'm delighted that the Football Governance Bill will get its second reading in this House next week. I know it's an incredibly popular piece of legislation for many members like him across the House who have clubs like he has in his constituency of Reading. And the bill seeks to ensure that fans and communities are put at the heart of our football governance, and that the protections in place against rogue owners or those who don't have the financial means to support their clubs properly.
Sarah Ball.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. And may I also associate myself with the comments about the passing of Pope Francis. As a Catholic, we very much appreciate this, and I wish the best to the conclave in selecting our new Pope. But if the trend continues, as we mentioned earlier, more than 1.5% of my constituency will be covered in solar farms. And one of my main concerns is about the use of battery energy storage, as my honourable friend mentioned, because Green Hill Solar Farm in my constituency are going to have a very large one, And they pose a huge risk of fires. They'll pollute the waters when the fires are put out, they'll release toxic fumes, and they will take days to put out if you can ever even put these solar panels out. So whilst I know there may be a debate, could I also ask the leader if she could speak to the Secretary of State about the severe risks of bays as these applications are being pushed through at serious risk to our communities?
Well, as I said in answer to the previous question, we do need to get the balance right to ensure that these kind of facilities are safe for local communities and that the risk of fires are mitigated as far as possible, whilst also getting much needed infrastructure in for energy storage, for battery storage, which is absolutely critical to the future of our energy security and our economy. But I will ensure she gets a ministerial update on these matters.
Laura Kirk-Smith.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. The new traffic calming scheme in Berton has been causing chaos, noise, pollution and danger in my constituency of Aylesbury, and almost 2,000 people have signed Matthew Goldman's petition calling for an urgent review of the chosen layout. Will the leader join me in urging Buckinghamshire Council to plan its road building and roadworks better, and will she reaffirm this government's commitment to improving our road infrastructure? Leader.
Well, poorly planned and poorly delivered roadworks are of great frustration to her constituents and to, I'm sure, those across the House as well. And I would join her in urging her local council to really ensure that the roadworks don't cause the level of disruption that she describes, and this government is committed to ensuring that.
Steph Acheron.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. Families in Holt have been promised for years a new primary school to replace the current building, too old and too small to cater for this growing market town. However, the Conservative-led County Council have broken promises, dithered and delayed, pointing to minor fluctuations in the birth rate as a pathetic cop-out. So would the leader consider scheduling a debate on investment in our primary schools, how this is decided, and might she also help facilitate a meeting with the relevant minister to ensure that parents and pupils and staff in Holt get the new school that they need?
Well, I'm sorry to hear of the dither and delay in getting the school in Holt that his constituents have been long promised. As he knows, the provision of places is a matter for the local authority. They've been given the funding to provide the places where they are needed, so they really have got no excuse but to get on and provide the school.
Shaba Khan.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. I recently visited the Hygiene Bank Medway in my constituency of Gillingham and Raynham, where volunteers provide essential hygiene products to those that need them, restoring dignity and confidence back in their lives. Given that 4.2 million adults in the UK live in hygiene poverty, will the Leader of the House consider a debate on how we tackle this, and specifically on removing the 20% VAT on soap by reclassifying it as an essential hygiene item, which it is currently not?
Well, she's absolutely right to highlight hygiene poverty, which is a real issue for many in this country, and tackling poverty in all its forms is a priority for this government. I'm sure she wouldn't expect me to make decisions or to talk about the future levels of VAT, but I think this is a really excellent campaign, which I think will get wide support from across the House if she wants to take it further.
Martin Vickers.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. Yesterday, like many members across the House, I attended the event staged by the MS Society in Portcullis House, and I was somewhat surprised to be given this handout which says that it is estimated that 3,770 people in my constituency suffer from MS. I've met a number of them over the years and their support groups, but the number is surprising, and it's estimated that each year another 179 will be added to that number. Next week is MS Awareness Week, so it would be an appropriate time for a ministerial statement on that subject, and I hope the leader would oblige with that.
Well, can I first of all pay tribute to the Honourable Gentleman for all the work that he's done in supporting steel and British Steel in his constituency, and for his attendance at the recall last weekend as well. He makes a really good point about MS Awareness Week and the real challenges that people have with living with these chronic diseases, and giving it MS Awareness Week, I will certainly bear in mind his request for a statement.
Andy McNair.
Yeah. Thank you, Madam Speaker. To get to school, William Cartwright in Year 6 at Thorne Primary School in Bacup has to cross a very busy Burnley Road at a point where there's no lollipop service, 20-mile-an-hour zone or zebra crossing. Of his daily experience, he said, cars travel very fast, we often run across the road, and I've nearly been hit several times. William has launched a petition calling for Lancashire County Council to install a safe crossing. He says we should not have to wait for an accident to happen before something is done. I could tell a similar story about the safety of roads around almost every other primary school in Rosendale and Darwin. So will either join me in congratulating William on his initiative, and given how oversubscribed Westminster Hall and German debates have been on this subject, agree to a debate in government time.
Well, I'll certainly join him in congratulating Liam on highlighting these issues of road safety in Bacup and across Rossendale and Darwin. He's absolutely right. Road safety matters do attract a great deal of interest in this House. We'll soon be delivering an updated strategic framework for road safety. I will ensure that is brought to this House and will consider his request for a debate.
Sarah Dyke.
Deputy Speaker, 77% of LGBTQ plus millennials are considering starting a family, but only 3 out of 42 ICBs in England give female same-sex couples access to fertility funding. Others ask for 6 to 12 rounds of self-funded treatment before funding is considered. So as we celebrate Lesbian Visibility Week, could we have a debate on government time about the discrimination same-sex couples face when accessing fertility treatment?
Well, absolutely join her in supporting Lesbian Visibility Week, and she raises a really important matter. We should be supporting all couples of whatever kind who want to start a family, and you know, all the joy that that brings, but all the support that also those families can bring to the babies and so on. So you know, I will ensure she gets a full ministerial reply, but I'm sorry to hear of the postcode lottery she describes.
Rachel Hopkins.
Speaker. Last week I co-hosted a youth engagement workshop at the brilliant Tocco Youth Hub in my constituency to help inform our government's national youth strategy. Young people from a range of organisations including Luton Children in Care Council, Chums, CYCD, Luton Roma Trust, Luton Youth Council, to name but a few, all gave excellent feedback. So does the Leader of the House agree with me? It's vital to recognise a wide range of young people's voices in developing strategies that affect their futures in order to break down barriers to opportunities for all.
Well, can I thank her for facilitating this workshop? She's absolutely right. We want to co-produce the National Youth Strategy, and conversations and workshops like she describes as part of that biggest conversation, I think, ever with young people are absolutely critical to ensure that we can design the services and support that young people actually want.
Lincoln Job.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. I know that the Leader of the House, like me, will be a massive fan of acrobatic gymnastics. Yeah. So she will also be aware that Team GB went over the Easter break over to Luxembourg to compete with 22 other nations. What she might not be aware of is the outstanding contribution made by Spelthorne Gymnastics in bringing home 5 gold and 3 silver medals from the European Championship. So would the Leader of the House join with me and indeed members across the House congratulating Team GB and Spelthorne Gymnastics on this outstanding effort?
Well, absolutely, Madam Deputy Speaker. I thought he was going to ask me to perform a somersault there, but we'll save that for later maybe. But no, I will absolutely enjoy maybe of the political variety, I was thinking more, if you don't mind. But yes, I will absolutely join him in congratulating Spelthorne Gymnastics and the fantastic achievements of 5 golds and 3 silvers of GB Acrobatics Gymnastics.
John Davies.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. On a recent visit with the Courts Minister to Shropshire Justice Centre, I was reminded about the dedication of our magistrates. Can we have a debate in government time about the importance of magistrates in the justice system? Since the 12th century, magistrates have played a critical role in delivering local justice. Now, as volunteers, many with decades of service, there isn't currently a long service medal award. And does she agree with me? There really ought to be.
Well, absolutely join him in thanking all the magistrates, as he says, are volunteers, and they're the backbone of our justice system in this country. I think the issue that he highlights is one that would gather a great deal of momentum and support, and I implore him to continue campaigning for it.
Showkat Adam.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. If the Leader of the House would indulge me, I'd like to quote somebody who I suspect has read more books than I have, Albert Einstein, who said the only thing that you absolutely have to know is the location of the library. Libraries are the lifeblood of local communities, bringing people of all backgrounds together, more than just a place of knowledge. However, in Leicester, the Labour Mayor is looking to slash library services in some of the most economically deprived areas of my great city. So I know this will be happening in other constituencies up and down the country. Cutting our library services disproportionately affects the most vulnerable in our society. So can I ask the Leader of the House to look to schedule a debate praising our public libraries and the work of our wonderful librarians across the country, and urging the government to give more support to local authorities to protect this crucial service?
Well, he's absolutely right. Libraries do provide, and they're long-standing in many of our communities, and they provide a great service to local people to access not just books, but these days to access services and the internet and all sorts of other things to ensure that they have the kind of knowledge and the access that they need. I'm sorry to hear of plans in Leicester, which I will look into for him, but we have given local areas a record settlement when it comes to the local government budget, so I hope that that means that areas can keep their libraries open.
Jo White. Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. Last week I visited Papa's Fish and Chip restaurant in Worksop, where I met the owner Nick, who told me of his Reconnect campaign, encouraging people to come off their screens and spend time in good company over a first-class plate of fish and chips. He also showed me the safe space he has created for SEND families. Will the Leader of the House join with me to thank Nick for running such a thoughtful and caring campaign?
Well, Papa's Fish and Chip shop in her constituency sounds like a great place to go and to reconnect, putting away our phones and having a great plate of fish and chips, and I'll perhaps join her there one time soon.
David Mundell.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. Recently, the Bank of Scotland announced the closure of all 5 of its branches in my constituency. As part of the follow-through, the organisation Link make an assessment about access to cash, and in particular whether a free-to-use cash machine should be provided. But they are bound by very strict criteria, which means that they have to take into account other cash machines which might not be available 24/7, which might not have disabled access, and actually might not be stocked up on a regular basis with cash. So will the Leader ask Treasury colleagues to review those criteria to make absolutely sure that people do have access to cash machines?
Well, access to cash in communities like his gets raised with me pretty much every week in this House. I will certainly make sure that a minister comes back to him on those criteria and whether they're appropriate now that we are seeing more and more banks withdrawing from our high streets, and whether access to cash is really viable.
Darkle Crichton.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. My local authority, Conlon and Shire Western Isles Council, is fast approaching its 50th anniversary. Formed in 1975, it brought together the many islands that make up Nahill and Nia and gave the Outer Hebrides a unified identity. My father served as a council, my brother serves. They're among many councillors and officials who have given service to the islands over the years. Our local authorities are not much loved, but by wishing Conlon and Shire a happy 50th anniversary, will the Leader of the House show that they are much appreciated?
Absolutely join him in congratulating Western Isles Council a happy 50th anniversary. It sounds like he comes from a great dynasty of local politicians, and here he is as a Member of Parliament representing his home town, his home area as well. So I will join him in congratulating them all.
Sir Julian Lewis.
May I thank the Leader of the House in advance for the very large number of follow-up letters she'll be writing after this marathon session. I know it's probably quite a chore, but we really appreciate that she does this so conscientiously. I was quite impressed in a brief exchange on the 13th of March about NHS dentistry as part of the formidable campaign being waged by the National Federation of Women's Institute on the subject, when the Secretary of State for Health said that the problem requires, quotes, not simply tinkering with the system as it is, but fundamentally rethinking it. I'm sure he's absolutely right about that. So will the Leader of the House urge him to make a statement to the House on what progress he anticipates making on this very important issue?
Well, absolutely. And can I thank him for thanking me for all the letters that my brilliant civil service team helped support in getting the answers that people ask me in these business questions. I do take that incredibly seriously, making sure that members do have the answers that they raise with me. He's right to say that dentistry, has been kind of broken in this country, and access to NHS dentists is not what we would want it to be, and that there are more fundamental change is needed to ensure that we can get the new dentist appointments. And we look at the dentistry contract. I'm lobbied about this by my own dentist every time I go, but I will ensure that the House is kept updated of progress.
Alex Baker.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. Aldershot Town Football Club are going to Wembley. The FA Trophy final on the 11th of May will be the first time in the club's history that the Red and Blue Army have played under the arch, with over 17,000 fans there to spectate. The club is also the first football club in the country to achieve the Armed Forces Covenant Gold Status Award for the work they do in our community. Will the Leader of the House join me in congratulating everybody at the club in reaching this prestigious final, and for giving us all in Aldershot something to cheer about?
Well, absolutely join her in congratulating Aldershot Town in reaching the FA Trophy final against Spennymoor Town. What a great achievement for her local club, and we've got a lot of football clubs being mentioned today, so I'm sure she might want to raise this next week in the Football Governance Bill second reading, but also join her in congratulating Aldershot Town in being the first football club to get the Armed Forces Gold Standard achievement as well.
Tom Gordon.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. Harrogate's LGBT community were appalled by homophobic comments made by Anthony Murphy, a Conservative Town Council candidate, who described acts of homosexuality as a truth that of grave depravity, intrinsically disordered, and an organisation he directs even claimed AIDS is a disease spread by those who are depraved, and called on the Church to purge this filth. This wasn't a vetting failure. The local Conservative Association knew and selected him anyway. They refused to withdraw support or answer if he's the same Anthony Murphy who was linked to organising Enoch Powell rallies. The local association has either gone rogue or the nasty party is well and truly back as they chase votes from reform. I've written to the Leader of the Opposition but have had no reply. So will the Leader of the House make time for a debate on candidate standards and party accountability?
Well, I'm really sorry to hear of the appalling homophobic remarks being made by a councillor, and a Conservative councillor at that. He's raised them here this morning. I hope that the Conservative front bench have heard his question, because action needs to be taken, and the Conservative Party need to show, like the rest of us, that such remarks are completely unacceptable and they won't be tolerated in any of our democracy or parties.
Gareth Snell.
Thank you very much, Madam Deputy Speaker. Madam Deputy Speaker, Stoke-on-Trent has witnessed a proliferation of HMOs in the city in recent years, with family homes being converted with very little notice given to local residents. Working with councillors Sean Penge, Daniela Santoro, Adrian Napper and Labour's Maggie Bradley, we are prosecuting a case to Stoke-on-Trent City Council to adopt an Article 4 directive, but this is proving to be more difficult than it ought to be. So could I encourage the Leader of the House to bring forward legislation to remove this permitted development right for everybody across the country, so that HMOs can be properly regulated and looked after in communities?
Well, I know this is a big issue in his constituency and in mine and in many others. We have got the Renters' Rights Bill, which is now in the House of Lords, which will take some action on regulating HMOs. But he's right, we could go further on these matters, and I would encourage him to continue to raise them, and I'll make sure he gets a ministerial reply.
Alison Bennett. Vicky Slade.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. My constituent Paul Pearson tragically lost his granddaughter Lauren following an accidental drug overdose. He later discovered that she had been introduced to drugs by someone at her dance school, and safeguarding concerns were not passed to the Disclosure and Barring Service. It was suggested that the individual also was not DBS registered. When I queried this with the Home Office, they said Home Office legislation around regulated activity says that checks only provide eligibility for checks, not make them a requirement. I'm sure the Leader of the House shares my concerns on this. Will she ask the Government to make time for a debate on the DBS service and how it can be strengthened to protect children?
Well, I'm really sorry to hear of the case that she raises, and the issue of DBS checks and whether they're wide enough, whether they're suitable, and so on, does get raised in the House quite regularly. So I will ensure that she gets a ministerial reply about that, but she might want to apply for a adjournment debate, because I'm sure she would get many people attending.
Charlotte Nichols.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. It was good to meet with the Safeguarding Alliance this morning about their concerns and mine regarding the patchwork of different departments, bodies and regulators with responsibility for safeguarding that allows known offenders to slip through the gaps and continue offending. An overarching safeguarding regulator could close these gaps, and with a Cabinet Office review reportedly being undertaken on quangos and arm's-length bodies, could the Leader of the House arrange for government time for MPs to be part of this? And could she advise when the data bill will be coming forward, which might allow opportunities for better regulation around safeguarding data and information sharing?
Well, can I thank her for that? The data bill is actually coming back for report stage on Wednesday the 7th of May, so she may want to raise some of these issues there. But look, the tackling safeguarding and ensure that we have the right safeguarding is a cross-government issue, as she will know. It covers many departments, but we have got a number of measures that are coming forward in various pieces of legislation, which I hope will improve the safeguarding environment. But I would encourage her to raise these during the passage of some of those bills.
Gala Lockhart.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. The UK Government has a legal and moral duty to ensure that the Union succeeds. It is therefore imperative that ministers do not go on solo runs and make unhelpful comments in the context of Northern Ireland's place in the Union, given the support remaining for Northern Ireland remaining part of the UK has remained unchanged in generations. Will the Leader of the House therefore give consideration to providing time for a debate on the Government's responsibility to speak with one voice and its commitment to upholding Northern Ireland's place in this union of Great Britain and Northern Ireland?
Well, I'll certainly ensure that the Minister's heard her question today. This Government does speak with one voice. We certainly try to, and I'm sorry if that's not been the case in what she describes. This Government is committed to the Good Friday Agreement in all its parts, and she will know that that these issues are a matter for those who live in Northern Ireland.
Jonathan Brash.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. Residents of the Throston ward in Hartlepool, in common with communities right across the borough, tell me they are fed up with crime and antisocial behaviour following 14 years of Tory failure that destroyed neighbourhood policing. Does the Leader of the House agree with me that Labour's pledge to put a named police officer in every community, as championed by our brilliant council candidate Lindsay Allen, is a game changer in tackling antisocial behaviour and crime in Throston, Hartlepool and the country as a whole?
Well, absolutely join him in thanking Lindsay Allen for proposing these issues, but he's absolutely right. We've got to put neighbourhood policing back in our communities. We're committed to 13,000 more officers into neighbourhood policing over this Parliament, and that's what we will do. And we've got the Crime and Policing Bill currently passing through Parliament, which will give the police the powers that they need to tackle antisocial behaviour.
Clive Jones.
Thank you very much, Madam Deputy Speaker. Just before the recess, I was unexpectedly a guest of the NHS in the Queen Elizabeth Hospital in Gateshead. It was a result of my delayed cancer diagnosis 17 years ago. I sometimes get a cellulitis and it needs very urgent intravenous antibiotics. I went in on Thursday night and my records didn't catch up with me from my local hospital until Monday. Can we have a debate in government time so that the Secretary of State understands the urgent need to have digital records so that our hospitals, our local hospitals, can pass on our details to hospitals in other parts of the country in a very timely fashion so that treatment can be undertaken quickly?
Well, I was sorry to hear of his admission to hospital, and it's good to see him here in his place today, as fit and well as ever. I mean, look, he's absolutely right. I think people wouldn't actually understand that hospitals hold individual records and there's not that national database of data sharing across hospitals. I think it's something that many people just imagine happens and it doesn't. The Health Secretary, I can assure him, is absolutely committed to breaking down these barriers and making sure that we've got the data sharing that we need and we've got the digital records that he describes so that people can get the appropriate treatment when they need it.
Kirstine Sullivan.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. Byres Place is a sexual violence support service run for women by women. It opened in 2022 in response to the need for single-sex counselling services for survivors of violence against women and girls in the Edinburgh and Lothians area, including West Lothian, which covers a large part of my constituency, Bathgate and Linlithgow. Can we have a debate in government time on the importance of single-sex counselling services for survivors of violence against women and girls? And will the Leader of the House join me in thanking the all-women team at Byres for the invaluable support that they provide?
She's right to highlight the importance of single-sex spaces and counselling when it comes to these issues and tackling violence against women and girls and dealing with the aftermath of that. She'll know that the Supreme Court ruling over Easter gave greater clarity on these matters for service providers like those in her constituency, as she might want to raise the great work that they do at the next Women and Equalities questions on the 7th of May.
Will Forster.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. The former Chief Executive of Woking Borough Council, Ray Morgan OBE, has been identified as the chief architect by a public interest report in bankrupting my council, leaving it with debts of £2 billion. Does the Leader of the Council agree with me that the very least the government could do is remove his OBE for services for local government? Will she agree to hold a debate in this House so that we can discuss government policy in removing honours when wrongdoing has been committed?
Leader of the House.
Well, he may be aware, I'm really sorry to hear about this case, but he may be aware there is a special committee that looks at, it's not a government committee, that looks at where nominations, there's a strong case for them to be removed. So I would urge him to contact, I can't remember the name of it now, that committee. I'll write to him with the details because he's absolutely right. We do need to make sure that people are held accountable for their actions and where they've received nominations. That's something that we should be considering.
Serena Brackenridge.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. Like the honourable gentleman across the House, I too have more than 3,000 people living in and around Wolverhampton North East with multiple sclerosis, including Simon, who manages a full-time job only because his employer provides the flexibility he needs to cope with this unpredictable and degenerative condition. Neurological conditions like MS are lifelong, often invisible and profoundly impact upon people's lives. Will the Leader of the House grant time for a debate on ensuring neurology is a clear priority in the NHS 10-year plan?
Well, absolutely join her in highlighting MS Awareness Week, which was previously raised next week, and thank her constituent Simon and his employers for being so flexible. And as she describes, these conditions, these chronic conditions, do involve employers being that flexible and having good employers, as well as a range of other support services. And I think, given it is MS Awareness Week next week, I'll make sure that the ministers do report to the House on what we're doing.
Jim Shannon.
Deputy Speaker, Nigerian Christians are at the forefront of Christian persecution across the world. As a majority of Christians worldwide enjoyed the start of Holy Week, many in the Plateau state of Nigeria had a different experience. On this Palm Sunday, an hour-long massacre occurred in Saki village in the Plateau state, where some 54 people were killed and 103 households destroyed. The entire village was displaced. Eyewitnesses report military inaction, selective disarmament of Christian youth and violence by armed Fulani extremists. Will the Leader of the House, as she often does, and I appreciate it very much, schedule a debate or a statement to ascertain what steps the UK Government will take to support the protection of Nigerian Christian communities and to address this ongoing violence. Thank you.
Leader of the House.
Well, as ever, he raises an important issue of freedom of religion or belief for all, in this case in Nigeria. It's something we raise with the Nigerian government on a regular basis, and we need to put an end to the intercommunal violence that we're seeing in Nigeria.
Paul Wall.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. I know the Leader of the House has a sweet tooth, and so she may be disappointed that she missed out on the very first chocolate festival held by the Oxford pub in Shawclough over the Easter break. That this was a festival that was attended by 800 people, and it was held in conjunction with Slattery's chocolate makers. They not only as well having a great time, the people there donated, the customers and the pub donated free Easter eggs to children in need in Rochdale. So will she join me in congratulating the McNeely family for putting on the festival, and will she join me for a candy and a shandy in Rochdale soon?
Well, I'll certainly join him in congratulating the Manini family on putting on what sounds like a really great event, the Chocolate Festival, to ensure that those who perhaps don't have access and can't afford to indulge over the Easter weekend had the opportunity to do so at the Oxford pub. I might just gently say to the honourable gentleman that perhaps next time he should bring us a few back so that we can make sure they're up to the standard that the whole House would want them to be.
Scott Arthur.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. All of us made sacrifices when Parliament was recalled to save the steel industry, and mine was missing a slice of a cake baked to celebrate the 20th anniversary of Balerno Farmers Market. I met the baker last week at St Mungo's Easter service, Emma Galloway, and she explained to me that my slice was gone. So you can imagine how I felt. So my locality alternative is an EDM 1091, 20th anniversary of the Balerno Farmers Market. It highlights how the market's vibrant, it's something that defines Balerno, it supports the local economy, and through the Fair Trade Group it also supports sustainable farming right across the world. So will the Leader of the House join me in wishing Balerno Farmers Market a happy 20th birthday, and also suggest that Emma bakes a slightly bigger cake next time?
Leader of the House.
Well, I absolutely join him in congratulating Balerno Farmers Market. Sounds like they do produce great cake, so popular there was none left for the honourable gentleman. So definitely next time they need to make a bit more.
We've got around 15 to 20 more minutes left of these questions, so please do help each other out. Melanie on.
Thank you very much, Madam Deputy Speaker. Would the Leader of the House join me in congratulating Labour's brill and totally committed Greater Lincolnshire mayoral candidate Jason Stockwood? He truly is putting Lincolnshire first, having just completed his county-wide cycle tour, raising over £16,000 for charities across the area, and the only candidate to brave lycra in public.
Leader of the House.
Well, absolutely will join her in wishing Jason Stockwood, who I know well, all the very best in standing as the first Lincolnshire mayor. He will make a fantastic mayor for Lincolnshire, and I hope people will vote for him next week.
Ben Goldsborough.
Thank you very much, Madam Deputy Speaker. Fantastic local businesses like Sugarbeet on the A140 in South Norfolk are being hammered by drawn-out roadworks signed off by Norfolk County Council and carried out by EDF with little care for the financial damage caused. Can we have a debate in government time on holding utility companies to account for their roadworks when they run riot?
Well, there is nothing more frustrating than poorly delivered roadworks, especially roadworks that come in on top of other roadworks or just after them. I think this would make a very, very popular topic for a debate if you wanted to raise it.
Douglas McAllister.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. Earlier this month, my hometown football club, Clydebank FC, were crowned West of Scotland Premier Division champions. On Saturday at Home Park, they play their final home league game of the season and will be presented with the league trophy. And it will be my pleasure to be there and see them lift the trophy. Will the Leader of the House join me in wishing them congratulations to all the players, manager, coaches, staff and the Bankies supporters for such a wonderful, successful season. And would she wish to join me, never mind the FA Cup semi-final, would she wish to join me in Western Bartonshire on Saturday and come along and celebrate the Bankies winning the league?
Well, absolutely join him in congratulating Clydebank FC, or known as the Bankies, and what a great honour it is as a new Member of Parliament to see your football club lifting the trophy at their home ground on Saturday. Yes, I am slightly otherwise engaged this weekend with my own football interests, but absolutely we'll look forward to seeing him on social media with the trophy at Clydebank.
Oliver Ryan.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. Burnley is a Premier League town once more. I'm sure the whole House will join me, perhaps not the member for Blackburn, he's not in his place, in congratulating Alan Pace, Scott Parker, Josh Brownhill and all the lads at Burnley Football Club on their ascension to the Premier League, back where they belong, up the Clarets, and will the leader join me in that?
Leader of the House.
Absolutely. We've really got a football theme today, Madam Deputy Speaker, but look, can I absolutely put on record my congratulations to Burnley FC getting promoted to the Premier League. I look forward to Man City putting a few goals past them next season, but anyway.
Jane Stewart.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. My constituents in Hereford and Conlon, John and Evelyn Preston, contributed to Digital's pension scheme before 1997. They expected discretionary increases to counter inflation. However, since Hewlett-Packard took over in 2002, their pensions have stagnated, in some cases 60% losses. This issue affects hundreds of thousands across the UK, and we know this thanks to the pre-97 alliance. So will the House find time to discuss how this injustice can be addressed?
Leader of the House.
Well, can I thank her for raising this important matter? She is nothing worse, I think, for pension holders than seeing their erosion of the value of their pension because uprating is not happening in line with inflation. And pension scheme trustees have a duty to act in the best interests of their members, and I will ensure that a minister looks into this case for her.
Amanda Hack.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. Just this morning, my office received notice of the intent to cancel 2 key bus services in my constituency. The 125 that connects Castle Donington to Colville and into Leicester City, and the 129 which connects Ashby de la Zouch to Loughborough, as well as the only service for some of my rural villages. Will the Leader of the House join me in expressing concern over these proposed cuts and call on Leicestershire County Council to work with me and local bus companies to save these services to keep my communities connected?
Well, I'm really sorry to hear that Leicestershire County Council are cutting vital bus services in her constituency. We have confirmed over £1 billion extra for local bus services like those that she describes, and we are bringing forward, in fact it's passing through Parliament at the moment, the buses bill that will give local communities much more say in the local bus services in their area.
Julie Minns.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. It was on the 16th of April 1850 that the Cumberland Cooperative and Land Building Society first opened its doors. The Cumberland, which is headquartered in my Carlisle constituency, celebrates 175 years of serving my constituency in the wider area. Will the Leader of the House please join me in wishing the Cumberland Building Society a happy birthday and thanking them for the part they play in supporting Labour's pledge to build 1.5 million new houses?
Absolutely, I will join her in congratulating Cumberland Building Society on 175 years. What a remarkable achievement, and for all the work that they're doing in supporting house building and homeowners in her constituency beyond.
Conor Rand.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. A Bar Etna, a fantastic family-friendly restaurant in Altrincham, has suffered to the tune of thousands of pounds from a business rate scam. Thankfully, the licences of the fraudsters were suspended, but they've since changed their company name and are now back to scamming small businesses again. This is the 4th time they've pulled this trick. So can we have a debate on the business rate scams crisis in our country, so we can close the loopholes that are being exploited by these con artists for good?
The House.
Well, I'm really sorry to hear of the businesses in his constituency have been victims of this business rate scams. We are committed to reducing these kind of scams, and we will take steps to do that, but I will ensure that he gets an update from ministers.
Mayor Ellis.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. Girl Guiding and its volunteers provide endless opportunities for girls and young women in my constituency of Ribble Valley. Will the Leader of the House join me in congratulating the Waddow Hall Trust Group of Girl Guiding members who successfully campaigned to secure Waddow Hall, which provides adventure and outdoor education for future generations of young people? And will she make time for this House to discuss the importance of outdoor education within the Government's National Youth Strategy?
Leader of the House.
Absolutely join her in congratulating her local Girl Guides in their campaign to secure the future of Waddow Hall. Girl Guides do a great job, and they're a vital part of the kind of youth services and youth community activities we want to see right across the country.
Emma Foodie.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. Fly tipping is a blight on local communities across Cramlington and Seaton Valley in my constituency. Yet under Conservative run Northumberland, fly tipping has increased by a massive 76%. The government's taken action to keep our communities safe and tackle fly tipping. Can we have a debate on the action being taken to strengthen enforcement and how we are clearing up the mess the Conservatives have left nationally and in Northumberland?
Leader of the House.
Well, she's absolutely right. Fly tipping is a blight on many of our communities, and we are determined to take further steps on this. We're currently seeking powers in the crime and policing bill to issue statutory fly tipping enforcement guidance, but I know she will want to raise those issues as that bill passes through Parliament.
John Pearce.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. Hawthorne's Care Home in Buxton recently celebrated 90 years of service to our local community. I'm sure the whole House will want to join me in sending them the warmest congratulations to the staff, the residents and their families. This stands in stark contrast to the Conservative-led Derbyshire County Council that are closing care homes and adult daycare centres across High Peak, including the sudden and shocking closure of Queen's Court in Buxton earlier this month. Will the Leader of the House arrange a debate in government time to consider the future of care homes and day centres run by local councils?
Leader of the House.
Well, he's absolutely right to highlight the importance of care homes like that of Hawthorne's in his constituency, and I'm really sorry to hear that his local county council, the Conservative-run county council, are closing care homes at this point in time. We have seen a record settlement for local government, so I think that the local county councils should really reconsider their decisions.
Jazz Athwal.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. Getting a driving licence in Ilford South has become almost impossible. Learners are having to wait for more than 18 months to book their test because rogue individuals and unscrupulous driving schools are booking up the spaces and charging the residents up to 10 times the cost of a single test. Learners are being exploited and honest instructors punished. Would the Leader facilitate a positive outcome, including a meeting with the relevant minister, to discuss the common sense solutions for our constituents who are locked out of driving by these manipulative practices?
Leader of the House.
Well, can I thank you for raising that? And he's absolutely right. Access to driving licence tests and other things are not what we would expect them to be. The Secretary of State's taken steps this week to address some of these challenges. There's further we can go. I will ensure he's given a ministerial update on these important issues.
Sonia Kumar.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. UK homes bin 1.7 billion pieces of plastic every week. Thanks to companies like the British Dudley-based business Iron and Velvet, there are viable alternatives to using plastic in cleaning products. Would the Right Honourable Friend help encourage others in this place ditch plastic, and could we have a debate about the importance of reducing plastic waste?
Well, she highlights a really important issue. We do need to reduce plastic waste. I will ensure that the House plays its part in reducing plastic waste. We want to see a circular economy, and that means more recycling and less use of plastic.
Jacob Collier.
Deputy Speaker, engineers at JCB have pioneered the world's first hydrogen combustion engines that can power heavy machinery. That is world-leading British engineering that's developed and built by my constituents. These diggers are unable to drive on UK roads, but thanks to this Labour government, that is going to change on the 29th of April. Will the Leader join me in welcoming this change that will bring increased jobs and investment?
Well, I will join him in congratulating the brilliant work of engineers and JCB in his constituency. I'm really pleased that this government has been able to unlock road access for these diggers, which will unlock further job opportunities in his constituency.
Lee Barron.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. In Corby, residents of Hook Close were denied the chance to object to plans for a huge warehouse to be built immediately next to their homes, and now they live within its shadow. This was due to admitted failures by North Northamptonshire Council, including consulting the wrong street. Residents took the matter to court. The judge criticised the council. However, the case had to be ruled out because it was out of time. Now the council, who didn't consult the residents, who consulted the wrong streets, where the judge criticised, is pursuing £5,000 in legal costs from the very people it failed. Does my right honourable friend agree that authorities should be held accountable when serious consultation failures occur, and that residents should not be financially penalised as a result of the incompetence of the consultation?
Leader of the House.
Well, this sounds like a troubling case in his constituency. He's absolutely right that high-quality consultations for developments is imperative, and it doesn't sound like that happened and proper procedures were followed in this case, and I will certainly raise that with ministers for him.
Curry Whistle.
Madam Deputy Speaker, too many of my constituents in Bolton are trapped in overcrowded homes, and as a result too many parents are left with no option but to share rooms with their adolescent children. Outdated overcrowding rules and a shortage of housing means pleas for help are routinely dismissed. Does my right honourable friend agree that families deserve better and that everyone deserves a decent home fit for purpose?
Leader of the House.
Well, this government, she will know, this government is absolutely committed to providing more affordable, more homes so that we can tackle the issues of overcrowding and poor housing that she describes in her constituency. And I think this would make a really good topic for a debate.
Leamington.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. I'm sure the Leader of the House is tired of hearing about the constant road chaos in Stafford, Eccleshall and the villages, but my constituents and I are at our wits' end. Conservative-run Staffordshire County Council continues to ignore the chaos at the A51, A53, Blackbrook Junction, failing rural areas like Baldwin's Gate yet again. Would the Leader grant time for a debate on Labour's serious plans for fixing our roads and how we actually get the councils that are Conservative-led to do that?
Well, I'm sorry that she yet again has had to raise the poorly managed roadworks in her constituency that Staffordshire County Council really need to get a grip on. It sounds like they're making a real mess of roadworks in her constituency, and I'm sorry she keeps having to come to this House to raise them with me.
Thank you,
Madam Deputy Speaker. From conversations with my constituents in Bolton West, it's clear to me that after 14 years of Tory government, there's a systemic issue of overcrowding in social housing. Under the 1985 Housing Act, a living room is classed as sleeping accommodation, and that means many families in my constituency find themselves stuck on the housing register for extended periods of time with no priority when bidding, often with teenage children having to share a bedroom and with a complete lack of privacy. So will the Leader of the House allow a debate in government time to address this critical issue?
Leader of the House.
Well, housing waiting lists are far too high in this country. That's why we need more social housing. It's why we need more housing, full stop, and that's what this government is committed to delivering.
David Pinto-Tinsley.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. Leaseholders in Hendon and across the UK are being ripped off by managing agents charging excessive fees while delivering poor service. That's why I, along with colleagues on these benches, have called many of these companies into Parliament to explain themselves. In the recent white paper, the government set out a strong plan to end the feudal leasehold system for good. May I ask for a debate in government time on what can be done at constituency level to support these reforms, and specifically to help the government hold managing agents to account while the reforms are enacted, to lower the unfair and affordable service charges leaseholders are being forced to pay?
Well, leasehold and unscrupulous managing agents is a huge issue for many of our constituents. We are committed to ending the feudal leasehold system for good. We've got the Common Hold white paper. The Minister has announced how he's going to bring into effect previous measures of the previous government, and we will have a leasehold reform bill coming later in this session. So his constituents will get the recourse and the services that they deserve.
Joanna Baxter.
Speaker. Session of business questions. The Leader of the House kindly joined me in congratulating one of my constituents, Jean Gallagher, who had just received a Provost Award from the Renfrewshire Provost for her 25 years voluntary service at the Johnson Learning Centre. Little did we know that at the same time as recognising Jean's incredible service, the Council were planning cuts to that vital service, leaving the service itself now in jeopardy. Does the Leader of the House House join me in condemning those cuts? And does she agree that the local SNP-run council should instead be using the money that they've been given by this UK Labour government to invest on these vital services?
Well, absolutely. This government has ended austerity in Scotland by giving the Scottish Government the biggest boost to their budget they've ever had. They've got the money, they've got the powers. We really shouldn't see services being cut like they are.
Chris Bloor.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. Rob Oliver, Kevin Joynes, Matthew Humphreys and Tom Hayward from Redditch will be rowing across the Atlantic Ocean in December as part of a challenge known as the world's toughest row. The challenge will involve them rowing 3,000 miles from the Canary Islands to Antigua to raise funds for three fantastic charities, the Frank Bruner Foundation, Arrive Alive and Redditch Self-Defence Youth Engagement, helping to educate young people in Redditch on the dangers of knives. Would the Leader of the House join me in commending these self-described ordinary four blokes for taking on such an extraordinary challenge to support these critical causes?
I thought there was an invite to Antigua coming there, Madam Deputy Speaker, but no, alas not. But no, I will absolutely join him in congratulating and wishing well the four blokes, Rob, Kevin, Matthew and Tom, on their amazing charitable endeavours.
And very short questions. Jivan Sander.
Madam Deputy Speaker, potholes are a blight across my constituency. They're costing us £500 each time they damage our cars. And the reason is because our roads have not been maintained by the Conservative-run County Council. So does the Minister believe on May the 1st that my constituents should vote to fix our potholes and vote for all the brilliant Labour candidates across Labour, Gateshead and the villages?
Well, absolutely. After over a decade of Conservative chaos, our roads were left in a shocking state. If people want the potholes fixing in this country, they need to vote Labour at next week's local elections.
MacDonald.
Thank you very much, Madam Deputy Speaker. Play spaces should be accessible to all, regardless of ability or disability, but that is not always the case. Young people in my county of Norfolk are leading the charge to change that through the MAP Right to Play campaign. Would the Leader of the House join with me in congratulating the young people of Norfolk for pushing this, and would she make time for a debate on the importance of inclusive play?
Leader of the House.
Well, absolutely. The right to play is critical, and I'm really pleased to see that young people in Norfolk and her constituency are making it such a priority.
Julia Buckley.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. Minsterley Village has recently seen its rural outreach post office service withdrawn with just 2 days' notice. The unplanned closure affects 3 villages and was given no explanation nor consultation with residents, Postmaster, Council or the 3 members of Parliament, in clear breach of the principles of engagement set out by the Government. Can the Leader please raise with the Minister for Business and Trade the serious concerns of my residents and ensure the Post Office is fulfilling its obligations to rural communities like mine?
House.
Well, look, post office closures are a really serious matter for this House, and I would implore her, as she is doing today, that as the local MP, she stands up for the post office services in her constituency and campaigns for them to remain open. I will absolutely ensure that she gets a ministerial reply about what's happening.
Adam Jurgen.
Madam Deputy Speaker, all good things come to those who wait. Will the Leader join me in paying tribute to my constituents Yvonne York and Jackie Wood from Newcastle-under-Lyme, Sue Jackson from Stafford and Linda Locke from Stoke South, all members of the Potteries branch of the Alzheimer Research UK. They've raised more than £15,000 in many different ways, including their human fruit machine. Can she assure me and people in Newcastle-under-Lyme that conditions like Alzheimer's and dementia will be at the heart of our plans to tackle early diagnosis?
Well, absolutely. Tackling issues like Alzheimer's and dementia are at the heart of our early diagnosis strategy, and we're determined to expand research and innovation into Alzheimer's across all areas.
Trina Murray.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. Yesterday and today, hundreds of young people in my Cumbernauld and Kirkintilly constituency celebrated their final day at school with the SQA exam period starting tomorrow. Leaving school and moving on to wherever is a big transition in life. Will the Leader of the House join with me to wish all of these young people the best with their exams and what comes next? And can we have a debate celebrating the importance of celebrating these transitions?
Absolutely join her in wishing all her constituents, all the young people in her constituency and across this House, the very best of luck in all the exams they'll be sitting over the coming weeks.
The final question, Chris Vince.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker, and congratulations to yourself on that. Will the Leader of the House join me in congratulating the players, staff and volunteers of a team often known as the non-league Man City, Harrow Town Football Club, on promotion from the Thurlow Nunn First Division. And as I've got time, will she also wish them luck to do the double in 2 weeks' time in the League Cup final?
Through the house. Well, he may be last, but certainly not least, but absolutely join him in congratulating Harlow Town Football Club. Maybe they have a Haaland as well, if they're a bit like Man City, I'm not sure, in their promotion, and wish them the very best of luck in the League Cup final in 2 weeks' time.
That concludes business questions.